All right, good morning, everybody, or a good afternoon on the East Coast, and good evening in some parts of the world. Thanks for joining us. This is the second in our series of TDevConf speaker interviews, and we have with us today Mr. Jerome Hardaway from Nashville, Tennessee, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. My name is Jerome Hardaway from Nashville, Tennessee. I reside in one of the suburbs, but I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. We're looking forward to having you at TDevConf, and let's go ahead and get started. The thing that I'm asking everybody is give us the 60 to 90-second elevator pitch about yourself.
Roger that. My name is Jerome Hardaway. I am a developer advocate for Quicken Loans by day and the executive director of Ed2 Co by night. I'm essentially a broke version of Batman. I prefer to focus on the UI, UX, and web accessibility components of the web with front-end frameworks as well. My current love is the Jamstack. And right now, my biggest vices is bacon and all things Captain America.
All right. I see. Is that the Captain America logo on your hat there?
Oh, yeah. I have like two shields over here, the Black Panther mask. And if you can't tell, that pic right there is all Captain America stuff. Yeah, I had to put my office back together because I had a workshop that I had to do. I got Captain America beanie. Yeah, all over the place. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, and one thing that we were chatting about just before you talked about Ed2 Co is so you served in the military, correct?
Yes, I was U.S. Air Force from 2004 to 2010.
Well, we definitely thank you for your service to the country, sir. And you know, and we've also, like I said, we've also got an ex-Marine coming on.
Former Marine, don't say ex.
Okay, former Marine. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Unless they do something that's like really bad, like they're a former Marine.
Okay.
Let me help you.
That's right. So let's see here. You already told me that you don't remember your first computer. So let's go on to the next one. What's your favorite code or text editor that you're using right now? You said you're big on the front end. So what's a good front end text editor?
Oh, Visual Studio Code. Like right now, that's Bay. It's fast, it's performant, it has all the plugins I need to do work and all the plugins I need to not do work. I'm a very big fan of, like, I don't like context switching at all. Mm-hmm. Like, I think, like, I'm one of those people like that. For me, I feel like to get the best version of me, I can't be sitting here, juggling a bunch of things at once. So with VS Code, you can do so many things. Like you could do everything that's needed for work, everything that's needed for comms. You can do live share. Like I use live share in the chat option and live share all the time. I control my music from there with the Spotify plugin. Let's see, what else am I doing? I write. I write in there. I like to do most of when I do a blog. I'll open that up, and then I'll like put it towards the Grammarly editor. Someone has a Grammarly plugin in VS Code, but I use that, but I also use the editor for Grammarly because I like to do as much work as I can in VS Code. I'm doing in VS Code. So
I'm totally with you on VS Code, and yeah, the number of plugins that are in there are amazing. We were actually on my stream on Saturday night. We were experimenting with live share and trying to do like code debugging and some things like that. But the thing that I like about Visual Studio Code the most, outside of all the plugins, you can do just about anything with it. I can't wait until Maui drops for .NET later this year, because then I can use Visual Studio Code for everything. But what I love is the cross-platform developer experience. It's almost identical across Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I'm totally with you on there. Let's go ahead and talk about your presentation for a little while. Cool. Because you call it newbie-friendly code bases. So go ahead and don't give us any spoilers or anything.
Oh, okay.
You still want people to come see it, but tell us what that's all about.
Well, yeah, it's more. It's about not only just about how we can be better in mid senior levels, but also it's about the cultural shift. Like back in the day, which I'm assuming is a Tuesday, before people cared about proper documentation and all that other stuff. Um, Programming was a very egocentric industry, right? It's very male dominated, very egocentric, very gate kept. And as a result, people programmed not for the people before them or after them, but to try to show how smart they were. So, and people don't really think about just when it comes to the business end, which in the end, that's all that really matters is what you build. It's not all that really matter, but it's like what you build and how people use it is the most like important thing. So getting the ego out of programming and the code base to make it easier for younger, newer, and people from multiple backgrounds to come in and write that code and keep manage it because code has become more social. So the idea is not what is not how smart you are within the algorithmic side. It's what did you build for the user to help them make their life better, and then on our end, how did you showcase you were a great team player? And a lot of that, people think that's all about conversing and one-on-ones and all stuff, but a lot of it begins with the code. Like a lot of people write code, especially I think I'm different because I come from a like crazy cool career field before this. So it was like, I don't really have ego with code because, you know, I used to carry M4 and M9 around for a living. So I don't really get my rocks off by like, oh, look at my big O notation. But I met people who think that writing their code as performant as possible is with every gotcha laid out. I'm like, oh, this could have been over like 30 minutes ago, but they've like, now it's a 2-page function. And you're like, oh my goodness, man, this is 300 lines for one function to do something. Like, this is bad code. And in JavaScript, I'm like, so you might as well like find the tallest building and like just throw the code out because like you don't want that to be found by anyone. But I was thinking about it a lot because I had, like I said, I was on a team and we had one person who was very much about that life. I was like, you know what, you're kind of a jerk. And I kind of want to keep the world from having more jerks. Like as a person who's a fan of Captain America, I need to make sure that, I save other people from that. So this is where this talk came from, like how to make like code bases friendlier for people. When I say newbie, I don't essentially mean like just people who are new to code. I mean like people who are new to your team, people who are new to your code base. Like, okay, you want someone to be able to just jump in and with a few weeks of like, talking to them and, walking them through, be able to just, get going with a minimal questioning, right? And that begins at the documentation and at the code base, right? Like, so that's what this whole talk is about, how to do that. And basically, the things I've learned over, I think it's 6.5 years of like helping people come from the military to tech and helping people come from tech to from other like level up in tech. Like, I think it's pretty cool, the things I've learned. And I'm hoping I can help other people and engineering managers and things of that nature out there who want to see this stuff and they want to start implementing this stuff in their teams, right? So that's what my talk's about.
And that makes a lot of sense what you're talking about, where code should not be about showing off how smart you are. Having that ego saying, "Hey, look at the." I don't want to say quality of my code, but maybe cleverness of my code.
Yeah, it's always about cleverness. It's never about quality because I had there's a guy, we used to call him Doc, but his name is Rob, but we called him Doc because he had a PhD, and there were 2 Robs on the team. So now you call Doc. He said it perfectly for me. He was like, once code performance is negligible, like once the like speed of the code and performance of the code between 2 functions is negligible, readability is what makes the code, the functions and algorithms better. He's like, once you get past, like, if the user can't tell the difference, then what matters most is the legibility of the code. So, it was very cool because I was in this middle of this argument with the guy about the code, like literally, like he's very egocentric when it came to code, which is the only thing he can do. But we were talking about it, and then the PhD guy who wasn't even our code base said, "Oh no, the vet dude over there is right. Like he's saying is absolutely correct. Like once you get past a certain, like he was in machine learning, so he was like, yeah, once you get past, like you imagine two front ends and they're debating about performance and readability, and then somebody who with a PhD and doing machine learning for $1 billion products. It's like, hey, that guy over there is right. I was like, yes, thank you. Like mic drop, boom. And that's really what kind of inspired my talk, because I was like, there's a lot of guys who are coming into all the industries from collegiate backgrounds and coming from very unilateral discipline like backgrounds where code is all they do, so they get their pride, get their self-worth from this, and they don't think about it from a total person concept, right? They don't get it from ideas of like who people are and how to make the product for the user, but we write code for each other. Like this is a team sport, right? It's only you're only as good as your lowest person, but you're only as good a leader as your as your smartest person, right? And I was just like, that really inspired, like, it just inspired me to do this. And I actually did this talk in Colombia, and it was very fun. So like that was my first international talk, and I was talking about JavaScript and having all the things up, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And to see that was that it was cross, like even in another country where they English is the first language, and me being a vet, I don't have that to lean back on. Like this this talk rocked because people definitely understood, like people could connect with this. Well, so this is like a global problem, so we all have that jerk in the office. Okay. And it made me feel good. I was like, all right, cool. And then, like when I was thinking about Tennessee and like things I would like to see changed, between that and the companies not really focusing on between their code bases, and the companies not really focusing on making their pipelines better for younger developers or newer devs. Like I was like, let's shoot for this one. So that's the whole gist of it.
Yeah, no, that, and like I said, that makes a lot of sense. I can personally relate to that or that concept in a way of not of making sure that you're keeping the people who are going to be using the code or using your product in mind. So I do so I create courses and things for technology professionals. And at first, when I started off, I thought, okay, I've got to really, really show them what I know. And turns out, no, it's not that. And so I started telling people would ask me, then when people would ask me what was most important about it, I would tell them, your purpose is to instruct, not to impress. And and so because I would feel like, okay, if I start explaining the basics, people are going to think, is that all he knows? Does he not know how to go any further? It's like, but hold on, if you're explaining this to somebody who doesn't know the basics, then you're going to be talking over their head.
And then basics is relative, right? Oh, like that's the hard, exactly. Especially with people, you just have to educate them. Like basics is relative to region, the community. Like with Vetsu Code, we talk about basics, and I did a front-end master's course, and there was a person who had been coding for a year, and he was like, yo, can you show me a profile of somebody who hadn't been coding, who had been coding for a year or less? And he assumed that the profile that I was showing him was somebody who had been in industry for 3-4 years. So I was like, no, this person started coding last year. Like he entered our program, and he's green, he's brand new. So like that was, it's a regional and like a style and community thing, right? Like it's based off of, it's based off your community, it's based off your city, it's based upon whether you're self-taught, boot camp, or university, right? Like all this stuff is like it's all relative. So you have to go through the stuff that people don't think is important when you're dealing with people from more than one background.
No, I'm definitely with you there. The other thought that comes to mind is, so I help run a Python user group here in Memphis, and from time to time, what we'll do is we'll, like if it's 2 hours before the meeting, we don't have a speaker yet. What we'll do is we'll have an "Is this code too cute" contest or something like that. And basically, what you do with Python, it's not. Well, okay, it's difficult to read them. It's not necessarily difficult to write them one-liners that really should be about 10 to 12 lines. And it would take less time to write those 10 to 12 lines than it would to read that one line. So
it's like the ternary operator of JavaScript. Like it's very easy to do that in Python. I know a little Python, so I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Oh yeah, and JavaScript also, you talk about this what you're talking about seems especially relevant to JavaScript, because I've always thought that JavaScript was a language in which it was really easy to write really bad code that works.
Oh yeah. I was interviewed last year by Wired Magazine. I let them know. I was like, they asked me what technology I am most excited about. I said I'm most excited about JavaScript because what you can do with it. But like, I'm not gonna lie about to people. Like, I started off as a Rubyist, and Ruby really cares about you, right? Mm-hmm. Ruby is like a wealthy mom that wants to make sure you have like your coat and stuff. It gives you like a dope lunch, and here's like $50 and all this stuff. Now, she may not be the fastest thing out there, but she's definitely going to take care of you. JavaScript doesn't care about your feelings at all, right? JavaScript is like that drunk dad that like is from like Nam or some shit. And he is just like, he is just yelling at you all the time. Like that's JavaScript. So like, I was like, dude, like when I first came, I was like, JavaScript doesn't give a shit about its people. And people are like, right. And that's like where I was like, it's like Marine. I would put it like Hell Week for like that Marines go through, but it never stops because it always changes. It's so it's like a fight. Like styles make fights, but so you can go to one company and their coding style is like this. Another company, their coding style like this. One code bases. There are no code bases that are like. I think that's why people like really decide. JavaScript is like if PHP is like before PHP 7, but if things prior to PHP 7 is the thing that makes people go to Python. JavaScript is the thing that makes people quit front end altogether and go back end. Like that's the thing. Like I've seen the only two things that I've seen that people get really like are about is PHP and JavaScript. But people will quit PHP and just go to another backend language. Right. People will hate JavaScript so much they won't even touch the front end anymore. Like they will be like, screw this, I'm going home, I'm going to go learn .NET, I'm never coming back again. Like, man, like it's a strong reaction. I love it because it's hilarious to me.
Yeah. So let's talk about your professional. Well, I mean, we've been talking about your professional life anyway, but talk about it a little bit more. How would you explain your job to an elementary school student or a high school student or even a professional outside of technology?
I make sure that the things that users see looks good, is fast, and can actually be used.
So that's how you do it to all three of them?
Yeah, I mean, because they know that, I mean, kids are smart like these days. Like, how many of us have like nieces and nephews or little cousins that are like 3, 4? They've picked up an iPad before, like they learn how to write and stuff. Yeah. Or you go on Facebook and you see my favorite Facebook video so far this year is there's some girl who she texts her baby cousin, and her cousin talks to the phone to send his text messages. Well, one day she decided that she was going to text him instead of talking back. And then he sent a whole video. I was like, yo, I can't do that. I don't know how to read yet. Don't do that. That's not cool. Like, just chastising this grown up about her decision to use written language in their conversations. He's like, I can't do that yet. That's unfair. And it reminded me of like Dragon Ball Z when Gohan and Goten were fighting and Gohan started flying and Goten. It's like, yo, that's not cool, man. Like, come back down here, so I can beat you up some more. And it's like that when it comes to technology, like these kids are scary. Like even as a dealing with teens. Like I have of the three boys, one is starting, well, 1.5 of them. Like one says he wants to learn how to code, but he's getting to that. It's also like, he's trying to get brownie points off for more money for allowance and stuff. So like, can't recognize the game, right?
Flattery never hurts.
yeah, flattery. Yeah, I know. Like, I know what I'm trying to do when someone's trying to manipulate me. So like they're still smart and they're talking about things they shouldn't be talking about at their age, right? Like VPNs and stuff. I'm like, no, I don't do that. So as a parent, you got to have the Wi-Fi extenders. It also lets you know when your kids are downloading crazy stuff and safe search is on. Like, why I love like the two brands I love that I recommend everybody. It's like Amplify or the Nest Wi-Fi, because like I can like Amplify used to like let me know when they were doing something like that was like kind of unusual. Like, oh, VPN was like downloaded like last night. Like, who the hell is downloading VPNs in this house? Like, nope, not today, Satan. Nest, I can just turn search Wi-Fi, safe search on, like for everybody, and I can control. And for both of them, you can just turn on the Wi-Fi and off the Wi-Fi from your phone whenever. I think I can do it with the Google Homes as well. I haven't tried to like be like, yo, Google, turn on Wi-Fi for kids. Like that's like I can't wait to see that. I'm just do that randomly one day. You gotta let them know. You gotta start like that's how you start dominance with teams. Like you gotta turn off their Wi-Fi once in a while, let them know who's boss.
Yeah.
That's the only tool we have left.
The only bargaining chip you have left is Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's how I would explain it, like to a kid, like because like I have kids, like and they ask me what I do, and I'm like, oh no, well, I make the web look good, I make the web fast, and I make the web make the web useful, right? Yeah. So when you click a button, it actually does the thing that the button's supposed to do, right? Like that's my job. Yeah, right. Yeah. So like that's how I would explain it to anyone. Like as I used to call it pixel pushing when they were when my kid was super little. I just push pixels, man. I just make things float left. Like that's what I did.
Oh boy, float! You're bringing back some bad memories.
Oh yeah. Thank you CSS guys for Flex, right?
Oh yeah. We're getting close to the end of the time, and I want to make sure that we get your community activities in here. Cool. And I definitely wanted to devote some time to Vets Who Code, but is there anything else that you also do in the community? Well, obviously you're a speaker, but any user groups or conferences that you're involved with?
Well, I'm now involved with Underground JS. We're trying to turn that platform from a speaker to a podcast, a whole brand thing. We're working on some really cool things. Huge shout out to Kyle Welch for that. Also doing like a lot, like I write for Stack Overflow. I do a lot of writing, period. But it's all focused on like junior entry-level engineers, because those are the people I really care about. I'm not on that level I'm more motivated on making better managers, but I'm not really motivated on like, how do I help? Like, how do I show to this mid or senior guy how smart I am? Right. That doesn't get me up out of bed. Right. Taking care of people who are trying to get in tech, that gets me out of bed. Let's see, what else do I do? So speak, Stack Overflow. I do a lot of podcasting as well. I've been on Syntax. Like you just go to Spotify and type in Vets Who Code or type in Jerome, Hardaway, and there's a whole list of stuff that comes up. My brother-in-law made a joke. He's like, you have more features than most Memphis rappers. So I was like, yes, I love it. That's what I'm talking about. Because I'm originally from Memphis. And
Okay, all right. Well, I'm you know where Oakland is?
Oakland, Tennessee? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's where I am.
Yeah, no, is that. So a little bit past Lakeland, right?
Actually, we're in Fayette County.
Yeah, so yeah, okay.
Fayette County, yeah, and actually I moved here from Lakeland. So so you know everywhere I've been in Tennessee.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just like that's all the stuff I do. And a lot of things I really focus on is helping people who come from like non-traditional backgrounds get into tech. Like that first job is the hardest in tech, and I do everything I can to help people, overcome those hurdles.
So I want to spend I'd like to spend when we talk about whatever you want, but I'd like to spend the rest of the time here. We got about 5 minutes left. I'd like to highlight Vets Who Code because again, like I said, people who serve the country definitely deserve all of the respect that we can give them and all of the recognition that we can give them. So tell us about that. What's the motivation for that? What's the whole story behind Vets Who Code?
Yeah, well, the motivation behind that was simple. I got out the military, and all the jobs that I was quote unquote qualified for either sucked in pay, weren't hiring because of government, or I was definitely going to get shot at. So, like, those were my three options: work at Home Depot as a security guard, or Lowe's as a security guard. Wait till the state government opened back up so they'd start hiring like people who had like police training or fire department or ambulance EMT, anything like that, or go back overseas for private military companies and definitely get shot at. So those are like my three options when I left the military. And I was like, you know what, that's a no to all of those. And I happened to see a book about coding and databases, picked it up, started learning SQL, and never looked back. My first job at SQL at the Department of Homeland Security is a TWIC car analyst. Since then, like that was like my first job. I guess that's my first tech job. It was like $40,000. Mm-hmm. And then I came back to Memphis, to help a family member, and there weren't really any tech jobs. I didn't really know anybody. I ended up working for this nonprofit, and I was supposed to be coming on board as the marketing admin. And when you're young, like when you're like 25 and the next youngest person is like 47, they're like, yo, you're smart. You figure out how to fix the website, make the website look good. And I was like, what on earth is this? At the time, I was using a antiquated Rails-based CMS. And I was like, well, holy hell, what is this garbage? And so I, moved them from that to PHP, learned to hate PHP during this entire process. I helped bring the digital donor cycle up about 75% and I make the website faster, more performant, all this stuff, all on my own, of course, 3-4 months. And then after like 2 years, there's a veteran whose family, he had lost his life and his family needed like help. I was in Memphis at the time, so I started I built my own website, started a fundraiser, and in less than 27 hours, raised $10,000 for that family. Mm-hmm. And like that's how Vets Who Code was born. I was trying to go back to like, all right, I did something good. Like I'm never going to hell. Like that's my good deed for the next 25 years. And people are like, no, you got to do something else. And I was like, well, coding's really helped me. Let me try to help other people with it. Mm-hmm. So I learned how to code. I was focused on building curriculums and teaching other veterans how to code. We ended up getting invited to the White House to meet Barack Obama for our work because within a year we helped like 50. You see my dog decided to make a cameo.
That's cool.
Yes, we helped like 50 veterans in 13 states. Did that in less than a year. Barack Obama invited us to the White House. Mm-hmm. And then we never stopped to date. We've done over 250. We're at $17.6 million of social economic impact. Like that's like salaries and jobs that veterans that came back home went through us, learn how to code from us for free without having to use their GI Bill or anything like that, and making money, put food on the table for their families. We also have our longest move has been a veteran who left America to do a contract in cheerleading, and this is a guy, crazy, special forces operative. Also was a D1 cheerleader in college. Actually left the military, went to Finland to work at a university for cheerleading for them. Met the love of his life there. Wanted to come back home, be close to his parents. They were aging, and he was like, "Well, cheerleading is probably not going to help me put food on the table for the two of us in America." So we taught him how to code while he was in Finland. Helped his transition from Finland back to America, and then helped him we trained him the entire time. And by the time he came back, he was able to get a job at Verizon as a senior software engineer. His first tech job was a senior position. And that's my record of how far I've helped somebody, like a veteran in the from the United States military. So that's it. That's long story short, focusing on JavaScript, all the things, Jamstack, APIs, a lot of markup. So everybody's excited. We've been doing that for about two and a half years. So everything that everyone's excited about right now, what would be great? Like Netafly, Gatsby, Contentful, GitHub Actions, AWS, we build in that and we teach that, right? So that's one of the things that we kind of excel at. We eat our own dog food versus other code schools. The code is open source. The veterans, they know that we know this stuff because we're building in this stuff. This is what the org is built on. They know that when we're talking about APIs, that we understand APIs because we do that, and we are very big on our cultural thing, right? So when I say that, one of the things that has happened is when it comes to veterans is that we rag on each other all the time, right? If you've been around veterans, veterans talk that we talk that shit real quick because when you're overseas and everybody wants to kick your ass because there's hey, it's like high school all over again. Humor and making fun of each other only gets you through the day. So I have a veteran he works at Deloitte now. For his final project, instead of making a project that could be seen externally, he made a project that could be seen internally. He took our Slack API and using AWS, made a Jerome Says app, and and basically people could Jerome Says / and pass shit to it, and it's a hit in the Vets Who Code channel. They love it. The veterans love it. They love making fun of me, and it pops up pictures of me and then a bubble and then it says whatever someone type in it, and they love it. They absolutely love it. I'm this is the most immature thing. He literally friended me on Facebook so he could go through my Facebook and steal pictures and then put it in this API. And then so he's in Cloudinary and AWS and he's in Slack and he's serving that. And I'm and somebody, I never forget, one of the person who's in charge of our intake, he was I bet you 6 years ago when you were thinking about helping veterans, you were going to teach them the skills they're going to use to give you shit. I was I kind of expected it, honestly. So that's our but that makes them better, right? Because there's nothing that motivates people more than their culture, right? So and that's the secret sauce of Mexico. Why our success rate is at 94% because our veterans, we let them bake in the culture into learning how to code.
All right. So I wanted to point out something is that we do have we have some viewers, and this is a friend of mine here who's also a former service member. I believe Chris, you were in the Air Force as well, if I'm not mistaken. And while you were telling the story about Vets Who Code, he posted this. Chris runs a conference in Huntsville called DevSpace.
Cool.
And so he really liked your story. And I popped up the Vets Who Code URL. I popped it up several times on the screen there. Jerome, thank you very much for your time this morning. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with?
Nothing. I'm excited for the conference. You guys, I'm excited to like virtually meet you all and talk to you about the things that I am like, really passionate about. So here's looking forward to a great conference and a great digital experience.
I couldn't agree with you more, sir. Before we sign off, let me go ahead and tell you what's coming up. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., we have Sarah Dekavich. You probably more likely know her as her Twitter handle, Saduki. But she will be, I'll be interviewing her tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central. Don't forget, you can get tickets. They are free, bit.ly/TDevConf 2020-tickets. Follow us on Twitter at TDevConf. Conference is Saturday, October 3rd, about 3.5 weeks. Our guest this morning has been Mr. Jerome Hardaway. Jerome, once again, thank you for your service to the country and the military. Thank you for helping make TDevConf awesome. So
All right.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Hope you
we'll see everybody tomorrow. All right.